What's up? Welcome back to the Burn Bootcamp podcast. This is your host, Morgan, and today we're going to talk about how to get more time back in your week. So, I have 4 tips for you to get more time in your week. And I created this podcast because the last several weeks, if not several months, I have been living meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting to home to kids stuff to work. It's just my schedule has taken me over. And so myself have had to kind of take a step back and say, how am I going to get more time in my week and making sure that I'm constantly doing the things that are the most important to me to make the most impact, not only in my business, but my personal life as well. So these 4 tips are hopefully here to help you if you are feeling like you just don't have enough time in the day or in the week to get all the things that you need to do. So my first tip is really starting from the top, right? Audit. Take an audit of your entire week. So one way that you can do this, well, 2 ways really. Number 1 is, do you live off a calendar, right? Are you basically looking at your calendar every day, whether that's a work calendar, a personal calendar, whatever it is, but do you live off a calendar? I personally do. So basically everything that I do in a day is on my calendar. If you ever want to know, I will share my calendar with you, right? So for me, auditing my week, like if I go back to last week and I actually want to audit my time, I would have a really good way to do that by just looking at my calendar and then really going hour by hour and saying, was that worth my time? Are those the things I need to be spending my time on? Or did I take more time than I needed? Did I not have enough time for that activity? And so I would be able to reflect back, but just based on my day-to-day calendar, because that is how I operate and how I live. But if you're somebody that doesn't necessarily work off a calendar, I would encourage you to start auditing your day and do it for an entire 5 days. So what does that mean? That means really writing down all the activities that you're doing and even taking it to the point where you're setting a timer and you're figuring out, okay, this activity took me 30 minutes. This activity took me an hour. This took me, whatever it is. You want to get as detailed as you can to understand where's your time going in a day and in a week and how much time is it taking me. And then it's going to help you pick out some opportunities of efficiencies or things you can cut out of your day and your week or things that you may need to delegate. Okay. So that's my next tip. So number 1 is audit. Take that audit and really take a step back and look and see, what are the things that I need to start changing about my schedule? So the next piece of that is auditing or delegating. Outsourcing or delegating. Okay, you've done your audit. Now it's like, okay, it took me an hour and a half to go grocery shopping every single week. All right, well, what about if I ordered groceries online and just picked them up? And that cut my time in half. I ordered for 30 minutes and I picked it up for 15. So that would be one example, okay? Small example, but one example of how you could look at your time and understand some efficiencies. You guys, technology is a beautiful thing, and it means that it's going to change routine. But I've been ordering groceries for the last 5 years of my life, okay? Whether it's Shipt or Uber Eats or your local grocery store has an app where you are ordering and they're fulfilling it and you're just going and picking it up. I find that to be the most cost effective because Shipt, there's a lot of fees attached to that. But my point is, I could sit in bed one night and order Sunday night or Saturday night and order my groceries and they'd be ready to go on Sunday. That is one way for me to just get back time into my life. So that's an example of outsourcing, okay? Or whether it's cleaning your house, and I've talked about this before. I don't think there's any shame in hiring people to help you do things that, number 1, you don't enjoy doing, and number 2, you could be using that time doing something more important, whether that's with your work, with your business, with your children, with your spouse. Again, it's figuring out priorities in your life and where you want to delegate and spend your money to have more time freedom. So outsourcing, but also delegating. And this really applies to somebody, in my opinion, if you have a team of people, whether that you own your own business or you have a team at work, or even if you're an individual contributor, it's constantly asking yourself when you go into work every single day, what can only I do, right? What can this job that I've been employed to do or that I have, the role that I play in my company, what can only I do, and what can I delegate to other people that they're going to maybe do it in half the time. They're better at it, and it just makes more sense, okay? So outsourcing and delegating. Once you've done that time audit, I want you to look and see, are there opportunities where you can outsource and delegate certain tasks that you're doing every single day or every single week. Number 3, time blocks, okay? So if you want to get more time back in your week, I would suggest time blocks, okay? This helps for people, well, specifically for me, if I don't have an agenda or I told you guys I work off my calendar, right? So if I need to schedule some time to work on a specific project or pull numbers or look at scorecards or look at data or whatever that case may be, I personally need to put it on my calendar. So I block that time off. And that way I'm not distracted, because if I don't have something and I don't have guardrails around where that time needs to go, I'm like, give a mouse a cookie, right? I'll start organizing my office, or then I'll go talk to people in the office, or I'll go in the kitchen, and then I'll do this, and then I'll do that, and then so it's almost like creating meetings with yourself and time blocking things off, and do it in a way that you're making sure that the most important things that you want to do in a day and a week are getting put on the calendar. So non-negotiable for me is a workout every single day. Noon is always blocked off for me. From noon to 1 is my time to work out. Okay. And then from there, what are the other things that you're stressed out about because you don't have time to do it? Start building your schedule around that. Start building your schedule around these time blocks, because in those time blocks should be the most important things that you want to or need to get done in a given day or a given week. Okay, so time blocks is my 3rd tip. And then number 4 is a GSD list, okay? Some of you may be listening to this on the podcast. Some of you may be listening to this on YouTube, but I have this beautiful little notebook. And yes, I still am like a lover of notebooks, no matter what technology is out there. But a GSD list, okay? Get stuff done, or whatever you want to call it. So this is something that I go back to every single Sunday. I look at my notes. I look at my meetings. I look at all the things that I know that I need to do from a professional standpoint, okay? This is my professional GSD book. What are all the things that I need to get done? And I like to list it out. And then I like to rank it in priority of when it needs to get done. And then there's something so satisfying for me to be able to cross something off my list. So for me, a list is something that helps keep me organized. And again, it kind of takes that scatterbrain and just hones in on what are the most important things. Because on a Sunday night, you looked at your week and that made the list, which means it needs to get done. So you either need to go find time for it, or, during those time blocks, you're going to your to-do list and you're looking to see what are all the things that, you need to just start chipping away at. For me, that just has created so much more efficiency, so much more productivity. And midweek, I look at that list and I make a new one, right? So everything that's kind of done, I always am making new lists. So you may like to do that daily. You may like to do this master weekly list. Really find what works for you. But I believe that writing it down on paper and then being able to reference it back and making sure that by the end of the week, you are getting everything done that you need to accomplish. So those are my 4 tips. Audit, make sure that you are outsourcing and delegating when it makes sense. You are creating time blocks for yourself, and you have a solid GSD list. So I would love to hear if this podcast has helped you. Please write me a review or come find me on Instagram, morgan.a.kline. Come tell me what you do to get time back in your week, because I know that I am always looking for tips, and I hope that these 4 have helped you guys today. Thank you, as always, for listening. 2 claps on 2.